It's Ilene here, your ultimate success coach. Today I wanted to talk about trauma. I wanted to share a personal incident that happened in my life many, many years ago. I was attending school, the university at Brigham Young University, and had talked my mother into allowing me to purchase a motorcycle, which I still love riding motorcycles to this day. I think it's because I always wanted a horse and we never had the yard to care for a horse, so the motorcycle was the next best thing. I talked her into letting me buy this motorcycle shortly after my father passed away. One day I had taken the motorcycle in to have it repaired and I needed to pick it up. I went to the shop to pick it up. I'm not sure how I got there. Someone must have taken me there. While I was there, I saw a man that I had seen in the shop a number of times. This man was overweight. He was fat, and he owned a great big, huge Harley-Davidson motorcycle. He asked me if I wanted to go for a ride on that motorcycle, and I thought, well, yeah, I'd love to go for a ride. So he got on the bike, and I got on the bike behind him. I remember riding on that motorcycle and him reaching behind to have me put his arms around his waist, which I didn't need to because there was a backrest on the motorcycle, and I thought, well, that's kind of strange. He took me to a small shop. It was off a main street and kind of tucked behind other stores. And we got off the bike and took me inside the shop where he sold jewelry. I remember seeing watches in the case. We stepped behind the jewelry counter and through a door, and I was shocked, literally shocked to see a bed in there. And then he grabbed me and started to try to kiss me, and he stuck his tongue in my mouth. And I was immediately filled with disgust. At this point, I realized that I was in a situation where I didn't want to be. And at this right now, I can feel my heart starting to beat fast. So I'm going to just start tapping on my karate chop point as I tell you this story. I pushed away from him, and he started talking about how much fun we could have together, a boat that we could go water skiing on. And he was trying to talk me into doing something that I didn't want to do, and knew that I was in a situation where he could force me to do that. I immediately thought, what can I do? How can I solve this problem? And I turned to the jewelry case and started to talk to him about buying some jewelry from him. In fact, I found a watch, and I talked to him, and I actually negotiated a better price for that watch, and he finally consented to selling me this watch. And I got back on the motorcycle, and he took me back to pick up my own motorcycle. Now that day I was mortified. I didn't tell anybody about that. I haven't told this story to very many people until a couple of weeks ago, when I decided to continue to clear up the issues I have with men in my life. And I knew that this was a huge one. And so, while tapping with my tapping coach, I related this story. She asked me how I felt, and I told her, I said, well, maybe I should have known better. I shouldn't have gotten on that motorcycle with that man. And right now I can feel my throat tightening up. I can feel my chest constricting. So obviously there's still some emotions attached to this incident. And then I remember feeling embarrassed that I would allow myself to do that. And I immediately recognized when we feel embarrassed, we feel ashamed. And indeed, I did feel ashamed for what happened, even though I realize now that none of this was my fault. And so what tapping has done for me is it allowed me to get past this situation, to be able to choose men in my life and bring men into my life who really care about me, who are not trying to take advantage of me. And so let's just go through a short tapping script for trauma in your life. And I recognize that this situation that happened to me could be small in comparison to some of the situations some of you may have gotten yourselves into or have inadvertently been placed into through no fault of your own. I recognize that this situation was not my fault. I went to pick up my motorcycle. I went to a place that I trusted, and actually I'd seen that man there before, and I thought I could trust him as well. But he put me in a situation that I was not prepared for. And thank goodness I had the wits about me to find a way to get out of that situation and to actually make it a situation where I was not taken advantage of more. And interestingly enough, I wore that watch, and I think it was a symbol of my ability to take care of myself. And so let's just tap for the trauma of that situation. Okay. Even though I got on that motorcycle behind that disgusting man, and he reached back his arms to put my arms around him, and I didn't want to. Why would I do that? I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Even though this man I got on his motorcycle, this motorcycle that I was fascinated with, I loved motorcycles. I choose to accept that I had those feelings and desire to get on that motorcycle. Even though I felt ashamed and embarrassed that I would allow myself to get into that situation, what was I thinking? I choose to accept that I had these feelings now and recognize that I got myself out of that situation. Feeling so ashamed about getting on that motorcycle with that disgusting man, knowing now that that man had something in mind that I did not want to have take place, knowing this man and seeing him in the motorcycle shop, feeling disgusted about him, feeling disgusted when he grabbed me, feeling disgusted towards him, and knowing that it was totally his fault, not my fault, feeling embarrassed and ashamed of myself. Why did I allow myself to be put in this situation? I should have known better. Should I have known better? I didn't know that was going to happen. I was a 20-year-old young lady, innocent, virtuous, and kind. I was just interested in motorcycles. I had no desire to do what he wanted to do. He was taking advantage of me. He was disgusting. He was the one that was trying to take advantage of me and do something that was totally against my nature. But I have overcome. I have made a good life for myself, and I totally released these feelings of embarrassment, of shame, and wishing I had known better. I'm going to take a deep breath. Now, when I tapped with my coach, those feelings of shame and embarrassment, out of a scale of 1 to 10, were probably at an 8 or 9. After we tapped, I realized that it was his fault, that he had chosen to do that I was totally disgusted, and that I had no idea when I got on that motorcycle that he was going to do what he did. I wore that watch. It was kind of a symbol of power for me, and I'm thankful, very thankful, that I was able to get myself out of that situation, and after all these years, finally clear that energy that had been inside of me, and to clear those issues that I have with men. Now the men in my life today are some of the most kind and generous and loving men that I've ever come across. And I recognize that as I clear up these issues I've had with men in the past, that I can bring men into my life that I trust, that I value, and that I honor. Okay, this is Ilene Christensen, just sharing a little personal story in my life and how I've overcome it. Hope you have an amazing day, and thank you for watching.